can you see the Roman road there? Well, make the most of that because very quickly it disappears.
We are looking at the lost Roman road of Wicker Street, specifically from its confusing bridge crossing at Blee Beck to the massive and mysterious British settlement of Ewe Close. And when you see that, you won't believe it. I'm emphasising you there. But it is on private land, and the road travelled by Charles II in 1651 is now faint, and you'll only have a chance of seeing its agger if I zoom the word at you in bright red letters, apparently. But we have other state-of-the-art technology here, including LiDAR, to take a look to this fascinating lost settlement. And how did the road end up being called Wicker Street, and why has it disappeared since Charles II's panicky journey along it in 1651? Plus, by the end of this film, you will be able to see that road here. I guarantee it.
The reason I emphasise you like that a couple of times in the intro is because the name of that British settlement is Ewe Close, as in sheep. You, not as in you. But it's sort of like a word play. You know, the sort of thing. What's that? Bridge abutment hanger? How did I get out of it? Oh, take a look. Fallen down this Roman bridge abutment and I'm dangling above the river. Oh, nothing to worry about. It's actually a very gentle incline and there's next to no depth to the water in this beck, so it's all fine.
I made it back in time for the Sainsbury's delivery as well.
That must have been like the old days for many of you lot. Saturday morning cinema, going to see how your hero got out of last week's cliffhanger, or in this case, Roman Bridge abutment hanger. Going by the demographics, a lot of you will remember that, will have had that experience. A lot of you, in fact. Hello there, I am stood on a Roman road agger, or possibly a bridge abutment. It is confusing. These are the only real visible remains of a Roman road called Wicker Street.
The significant abutment remains here seem like overkill in relation to the tiny beck, but the Roman road builders had to cater for wheeled traffic, and that's why I think we see such engineering at sites like this. Don't be too impressed. They had slaves to do this as well. We are not Victorian antiquarians here with our rose-tinted monocles. And it's also worth remembering when we look at the confusion here that this is a crossing that apparently continued in use for over 1,000 years with no maintenance. Sound familiar? And this is what the crossing looks like in the LiDAR. From the beck crossing to the edge of the open access, it's barely a third of a mile, with old antiquarian reports indicating a clear agger here over the moor.
Agger do. What's that? You don't believe me that I'm on an agger? I could be on any old bit of moorland. Let me show you. So I go down this side, into the ditch, back up, see how steep that is? Over the top of the agger, and into another ditch. That is Wicker Street. Agger that way, can you see it? Agger that way, can you see it? As I come up here, I can see a really nice cut there, distinct, as the road sort of crests that ridge up there and then continues as an agger. Quite a few sort of different channels here again. I suspect we are looking at the effect of centuries and centuries of use and no maintenance there. Now this is going to be an informative video this week, but possibly a little briefer than the normal sort of thing. We're in the middle of the school summer holidays here in the UK, and I have my two of my grandsons are coming to stay for a few days. So I've got to get back tonight to see them. Please keep an eye on me. I managed to escape by the skin of my teeth last week with that Sainsbury's delivery. I must not be late for seeing my grandchildren, but that's why the video this week is going to be a little bit short, but it's still going to be absolutely packed with antiquarian interest. Keep an eye on me, please. Don't let me be late for my grandchildren. So with great difficulty, I'm approaching the edge of the open access land, and to give them their due, with thanks to the Ordnance Survey, their line of the Roman road seems to be bang on here. I doubt very much you'll be able to make out the agger that I'm on. The tripod is the other side of the shallow remains of a ditch. My jacket is hanging over there next to a bush, which I suspect has taken advantage of the moisture in the roadside ditch. And I don't think you'll really be able to make it out, but as we approach the wall here, there is the slightest of swell. Remember smaz as a way of identifying Roman roads. A slight swell in that wall. But in the field beyond, the cultivated field beyond, you can just about make out the line of the road.
Swell, milestones, agger, stones.
You won't be able to tell, but this is absolutely slap bang in the old ditch.
Look at this. It looks like an agger, doesn't it? It actually lies to the other side of Ditch Tree, effectively to the west, and it nearly fooled me. This is the correct agger, and I'll zoom the word there following recent complaints that aggers are not at all clear if I don't do that. Looking at the LiDAR seems to confirm that we are passing to the east of Ditch Tree, as does our opening shot. Look carefully and you will see the road both on the moor and in the cultivated fields. Zoom aggers added as requested.
And for us, that wall marks the end of the line. Beyond that, there is no public access whatsoever. We are disbarred from accessing Ewe Close. So what I'm going to do next is I am going to try and get the drone up. It is very windy, don't know how successful that's going to be, but we also have LiDAR and we have Google Earth and all those sort of goodies, so we can have a look at Ewe Close and tell you a little bit about the story.
I don't want to sound as though I'm bleating on. It was very windy, so I'll start off by showing you the drone footage I was able to get, accompanied by some really cool music, and then I'll come back and tell you a little bit more about this very large and very interesting ancient settlement.
What did you make of that then? It's a large settlement, isn't it? Now, I have to admit that often when I hear that things are labelled as Romano British or even Iron Age, I do have a suspicion that they may actually very often be later settlements, sort of from the Dark Ages. But on this occasion, I think with the Roman road swerving to miss the village, the settlement, we have to accept there was clearly something going on here before the Roman road arrived. And what about that name, Ewe Close? I think that all I can assume from that is that centuries after this place had faded into memory, being completely forgotten, some farmer or other found some use from the low ramparts for penning in his sheep. What do you reckon?
Just look at how the field structures ignore the road. It was finished off by intake and enclosures, I am sure, which we can assume then happened any time between the 17th and early 19th century, probably the 18th century. Penny Jackson has been looking at maps and tentatively concludes that the road is out of use or no longer significant by 1676. I think we do need to look at it in conjunction with the Maiden Way, so it's Low Boroughbridge to Magnus, fort of basketball players, and the Maiden Way name has been traced back to 1179, so sometime between the 12th and the 17th or 18th century, something happened. My thoughts, this was an ideal route for a furtive king travelling furtively from Edinburgh to the West Midlands, a forgotten and derelict by-road on its last legs. Ideal cover.
Now, if you enjoyed that, there is actually another settlement, another Romano British settlement out that way on the open access land, so we can have a look at it. It's nowhere near as big as Ewe Close, but it still has some promise to it. Now, I know I've got to get back and see my grandchildren and all that, but I reckon we've got enough time. Should we give it a go? Let's do this. Would you believe it? Another settlement. This one is called Ewe Locks. I think once again we have to assume that later on, centuries later, sheep were kept here. I love these sort of places. We are looking at somebody's home. A family once lived here. Again, we think Iron Age and then, continuing on into the Romano British period. Something very special about these sorts of places. I hope you'll forgive me standing here in this little Romano British house and taking in the views for a bit. It's very easy when you're making these films just to sort of be able to put yourself under pressure and not really sort of soak it in and enjoy it. What a view they had down there, down the Eden Valley. Looking across, I can see Crossfell over there. And obviously during the Roman period, there's Roman roads down there. And actually behind me, I can see the trees on the limestone pavement up on the top there, where Wicker Street is actually named on the Ordnance Survey. So the people living here would have been able to look across and presumably on a good day, they'd have seen people coming down the Roman road, down Wicker Street over there. Marvellous. It's great when this channel enables me to fulfill long-held ambitions. I have wanted to come to both Ewe Locks and Ewe Close for ages. I really enjoyed coming here today. In fact, I can barely believe it. So coming in along this bank here, and then I think you've got an entrance into whatever that structure there was. Once there was life in this settlement, and there was life travelling along the Roman road that you could see up there. But nowadays, there's nothing, just emptiness. And that is one of the downsides of antiquarianism. You're never too far away from a reminder of the pointlessness of your life and how quickly you're going to be forgotten when you're dead.
And look at these interesting dikes running out from Ewe Locks. And here they are on the LiDAR. Lots of activity here when Wicker Street was in its prime.
This is a fairly innocuous stretch of track, wouldn't you say? But I feel that it is time, with our growing international audience, to issue something of an apology about English names. Because if you look at the map, this is called Slack Randy. It's confusing enough for us Brits, but what do you make of this sort of thing in America and Australia and other parts of the world? Slack Randy.
We have this excellent institute and our members actually do homework, but please don't let that put you off from joining, please. Here are some of their ideas regarding the name Wicker Street and its origin. My preference is the Old English for town settlement, because in Ewe Close and Ewe Locks, isn't that exactly what the early English saw here? A strata, a Roman road, two settlements. Note also Wickerslack Hamlet over there, which is bang on the line of the once proposed road to Broome. And that's how you improbably pronounce this, by the way, I've been reminded. And look at that. Is that a British name? And what about Harbour Wain? Is that an Anglo-Saxon refuge? Oh, and Dale Banks there, surely named after the embankments of Ewe Close. Visit Cumbria without any apparent sense of irony refers us to Collingwood's reports of 1908 as the latest on Ewe Close. He demonstrated that these two dykes cutting the road and effectively ending its life were later and not contemporary with the stone walls of the settlement, in which were found pottery sherds from the 2nd to early 4th century. Given the curve of the road and the native style of the huts, it seems likely to me there was some settlement here before the road arrived, Romanising the Carvetti. Note, Collingwood names the road Maiden Way and not Wicker Street, as per our earlier ideas on the route as a whole. There is a medieval farmstead overlaying the Romano British structure here. If these dykes were cut in the 16th century, breaking the road, how did Charlie Boy pass in 1651? Or did he actually come in from Broome?
You know, I do find these sorts of abandoned settlements the most arresting places that I visit. This is where you can touch the lives of real people in antiquity. And talking about people, you lot have let me down. You were meant to be keeping tabs on the time for me. I've just had a message from the Fish God, one of the members of our Institute of Amateur YouTube Antiquarians, reminding me that I need to make tracks. I've got grandchildren to see. So thank you very much for watching. That bit just counted, by the way, as the member shout out bit for this week. Thanks to all of our other members. Thank you for watching. See you next week. Bye. Hang on a minute. I know I'm in a rush, but what is that? I mean, that is a very interesting line of stones, isn't it? Pink granite, do you reckon? What is going on there? Could possibly, won't take long. I'll just have a little look in here. I'm sure they're pink granite, you know, which in itself is not surprising because that is naturally occurring round here. But obviously pink granite, I'm thinking Shap Avenue, Long Meg and her daughters.